Hey everybody, I'm glad to be back and creating another video for you. Today we're going to be focusing on the new moon in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, which takes place on Monday overnight until Tuesday, dependent upon where in the world you are. Before we dive into things, I just wanted to say a deep, heartfelt thank you to all of you who came through with your support during the recent struggles that myself and my family have been through. If you don't know what this is about, you may have missed some of my recent videos where I was putting forward some appeals for assistance on that particular level. I will put forward to you, we're still not fully out of the woods yet, but things are beginning to get a little bit better. We still could use your continued support if you would like to help and donate to help to get us through this difficult financial time. There is a link down below in the description area. I'll also point to it up above if you'd like to do that. And of course, it's always fine to schedule in a consultation with me. We'll go into that more here in a little bit. So it all starts and ends with you. And it all starts and ends with me. As a matter of fact, it all starts and ends with each and every one of us, right? And that doesn't mean that we can't help each other out. But what it does mean is when things are perhaps not quite going to form, so to speak, that the person who has responsibility for that, at least on a partial level, is that person that you look at in the mirror every single day. So when I ask you, or when I say to you, I should say, it all starts and ends with you, how does that feel to you? Does that feel like it's just a ton of responsibility that weighs upon your shoulders? Do you find it overwhelming? Or is it something that you actually find empowering? Here's something that's really interesting. And that thing that's really interesting isn't my fingers dancing across the screen. That's just something I like doing because, hey, when I look at this camera, I'm actually really shy, and most of you probably don't know it. So I have to do things like this in order to keep things out of my face, right? Anyway, back to the point at hand. Here's a really interesting concept. At least it is to me, and I hope it will be to you. The house that deals with wealth in our life is the house that simultaneously deals with family on one level and equally deals with responsibility on another level. That tells us that those things that we deeply value, we value them to the extent that we'll accept responsibility for our role in those things, right? So everything that you have invested the wealth of your energy into in your life at this present moment in time is something that you, at least on a partial level, have a responsibility for. And if you feel at this particular moment like your house is not in order, there's now an opportunity for you to make a clean sweep of the past prior to moving forward. Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, every single nakshatra is symbolized by a place or an environment. And with Purva Phalguni, it's symbolized by a ruined house because it relates to a period in our evolutionary journey where we're having to reassess the state of affairs and how we would like to partner with ourselves in moving forward. Now, interestingly enough, people, often also relate Purva Phalguni to relationships. And generally, anytime there is a planet active in Purva Phalguni, the concept of relationships does become very important because relationships in our life, they all tend to take on a tone or an energy that's connected to our own self relationship. And that's why when it might feel to us like, hey, something needs to change or something needs to be altered, that it has to start and it has to end with us. But by us accepting the role of responsibility at that particular moment, all the rest of our relationships benefit. So you might be looking at your life on a certain level and recognizing a change that needs to happen, right? And there is a huge opportunity with this particular new moon, as I was saying, to make a clean sweep of the past. Or you can focus. Sorry, you have to excuse me. I kind of get rolling a mile a minute here and then trip over my own tongue. You can focus instead, if you want to, on how you might like to shift the blame or the responsibility onto someone else. But at the end of the day, that's not going to help matters, right? Because guess what's going to happen if you do that? It's likely going to be that that other person is going to shift their responsibility back onto you. And so you're going to find yourself in an environment where instead of there being two parties both showing a willingness to work together in order to move forward, that instead each party is going, well, this was your fault. And, and nobody accepting accountability for their own role or their own input into the situation. So, the best way to solve any conundrums that you might be facing in your own life at the present moment is to let it all start and end with you. And I'm shifting the way I'm working with astrology. That's a commitment that I'm making to myself at this particular moment in time. And if you would like to have a small smidgen or even a large smidgen or even no smidgen at all, but just a heaping plateful of understanding of the new way that I want to work with astrology going forward and help you much more going forward, I do highly recommend scheduling in one of my astrological services through my services page that you will find linked above. But back to this particular new moon cycle, you have an opportunity right now. That opportunity may seem to you like it's a curse, right? Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, as I was saying, is symbolized by that ruined house. This particular new moon is receiving a strong angle from Saturn in Purva Bhadrapada, which is also symbolized by a house in the south, right? And there are many things. I'm not going to go too deeply into the whole South reference in relation to it, but part of this relates to something that one thought was in a good state that then turns out not to be in the best state possible, but is in need of energy. And how are we going to best fix that house going forward? Are we going to say, well, you see that, like, board where the nail's coming up? That's that person's fault, right? Or do you see that stain on the floor? Well, that's this person's fault, right? Are we going to keep pointing fingers, or are we going to look at it and go, here's how I can help? Here's how I can help, right? And that's the really wonderful thing, is when we decide to help. And in order to really truly help with the situation, we have to be much more whole within ourselves. And you're not going to be whole within yourself if you're ignoring the role that you played in bringing things to the present state of affairs in which you currently find things. Notice how it may sound like I'm being vague. It's because this is going to relate to, like, different areas of different people's lives. Now, primarily, there's going to be a relationship involved with this particular new moon cycle, whether it's your own self relationship or your relationship to another person. So accept accountability. That's a very empowering thing to do. In pretty much every circumstance that anybody goes to seek an astrologer, right? People go to astrologers, they think quite often because they're wanting to know if they're going to get a job, or they want to know if they're going to buy a house, or they're wanting to know if they're going to get into a relationship. At the root of all of those things, the reason people are contacting an astrologer is because they want to trust that they can handle each of those situations. Perhaps their relationships didn't go well, so they want to trust that they'll be able to handle themselves in relationships going forward. Perhaps their last job didn't work out well. Maybe they're wanting to look at how they can better handle their career going forward. It all boils down to self-trust, and self-trust boils down to self-accountability. And self-accountability with this particular new moon cycle involves you letting go of all those things in the past that you might be kind of going, it's that person's fault. Instead, look at you. Okay. What role did you play in things getting to the present moment? Now, you may legitimately go, I didn't play a role in this problem or in that problem. Great. So you can argue about how that person might have created it, or you can go, here's how I can help if we're looking at this situation going forward. Don't look at whatever it is that you're dealing with right now in terms of something having fallen apart, or for lack of a better way to put it, having, kind of completely gone south. Instead, look at the situation you have as an opportunity for you to contribute, for you to put your energy in, and for you to shine in your connection, not only with yourself, but also with someone else with whom you are sharing a particular journey. I'd like to help you in your own individual journey, and I do offer astrological services, which can be very key towards doing so. I like to step in and help the person create what it is that they're looking to create. Now, that doesn't mean we can control every single aspect of our lives. Sometimes we get hit with difficulty. Sometimes we get hit with the state of ease. But at the root of it, it boils down to, again, that accountability of you making a decision for yourself, whether you want to continue forward or turn back and head home. At the end of the day, it's all about you and the journey you're on. But I would like to help you on that journey. And again, you can schedule one of my services at the link above if you're interested in working with me. That's going to do it for this look at the new moon taking place in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra on the night of the 2nd of September, overnight until the 3rd of September, 2024. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself, and I look forward to my next video for you, which hopefully should not be too much longer. Thanks a lot. Bye now.